Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Uncle Mad, better late than ever. Jumping in for a little bit of a dual watch along. I've got the Nashville SC Real Seattle Sounders match on for reasons. And then I've also got WrestleMania running on a second screen. So a lot of fun stuff happening, except on the Nashville SC end of things. Nashville SC is currently down 3-0 against Seattle Sounders. Did not exactly see this result coming. I knew Seattle, that road trip is always a tough one. I did not know this. They were saying early on in the match on the commentary, we've never lost to Seattle, and Seattle's never even scored a goal against us. I would have never in a million years guessed that. I would have definitely thought Seattle is one of those teams that we had a short history, but a struggling history against. But I was completely wrong about that until today. They are up 3-0 on us right now. And it all came in like this one little 15-minute window of time where everything just came unglued for Nashville SC. First 10-ish minutes of the match were great for Nashville SC. We're on the front foot. We're pushing, pressing. Stop me if you've heard this one before. This seems to be the story of the season, is that we're being a lot more aggressive. We're pressing a lot more. We're attacking a lot better, just not getting the final product enough as we need to. And then we just had this 15-minute spell where just it felt like the whole team started running around like chickens with their heads cut off. The opening goal was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, because you never see that you rarely see it. I'll say you rarely see it at the highest level. We had a goal where the on-the-field decision was offside. The referee flagged for offsides because Andy Nahar, our right back, was so far out of position that the AR didn't even keep track of him. That's bad for that AR. He is going to be lit up by his, whoever, he has to answer to when it comes to like MLS referees, because that is, you can't do that as a professional high-level referee. But also Andy Nahar being that far out of position was crazy. So that was wild. And the next ones were we were just all over the place, just so wide open. There's a lot of reasons of why this may have happened. I think the defense, we've seen some good things. Like, this was my concern coming into the season, was that the defense, with our more open, more attacking style play, the defense was going to be put on an island a little bit more and maybe have to deal with a little bit more than they are used to dealing with. And for the most part this season, that's been the case, but we've held up pretty well. Joe's made saves. We've had good last minute, clearances, last minute saves by our defenders. And today that was just not the case. We were just too wide open. There was just too much space in that little 15-minute stretch for Seattle. And I have two initial thoughts that I'll just throw out there as we kind of catch back up to speed on things of why that may have been. I think there's two obvious players that are missing today. Zimmerman's out. He's still out with a concussion, reasonably so. Not going to, we don't want him to rush back, get well, get healthy, come back. But we, for the first time this season, did not start Eddie Tagseth. And I haven't seen anything or heard anything about the specifics of why. I've seen some speculation that, he has run an insane amount of miles so far this season. I think he's run something like 64, 65 miles over the course of the season so far, which is insane. But also, and so maybe he was at one of those things where the physios, the sports scientists, the team medical staff is being like, hey, this guy has to take a break. He's approaching the red zone for potential injuries. But he's also, I think the other potential factor is he's one yellow card away from a yellow card acclimation suspension, where I think if you get 5 over a certain stretch of games, you get suspended. I don't know if it resets after this match, or I don't know if maybe BJ just looked at the Chicago home game next weekend and thought, hey, I'd rather have Eddie available for that than suspended for that, or what. But there's maybe some reasons why Eddie didn't start, but he came on to start the second half. Schaffelberg came on to start the second half. Looked a little bit better, but a 3-0 hole is difficult to dig out of, especially when, we're not finishing the chances that we're creating to the level we should. So a weird game. I'm going to choose to be positive of it. I think, this is the kind of game you have to, you got to take your lump sometimes when you're trying to take the steps forward that we're trying to take forward as a team. Oh, Josh Bauer's on too. Or Jack Mayer. So who came off? Josh Bauer must have come on for Andy Nahar. Schaffelberg must have come on for Kassam. And I guess Tagseth. Who did he come on for? Yazbak or Brugman, I would guess. Yeah, so changes earlier than we're used to seeing from BJ Callahan, but things have not gone this poorly in the BJ Callen era. But I'm going to choose to, like, stay on the positive side of things with this. And I got my guy Wormy. He's jumping in the chat. You'll hear more of this discussion on our podcast this week when we recap this match. But I'm gonna, unless things get crazy in the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna try to bring back Gary. Yeah, this would be a ugly, like, I think as bad as we were for that stretch, this would still be like we'd be down 1-0 right now. So it'd almost be worse in that we'd have no hope of scoring a goal. We'd just be down 1-0 and have no hope of scoring. But I do think if you want to give Gary a little credit, we would not be down 3-0 if Gary was the coach right now. But me and Wormy will have our podcast. We'll record probably tomorrow night and have that out Monday. So I'll give a full, more detailed reaction and breakdown to this. But I'm going to try and stay positive right now because I think the season has been good. There's no need to, good little shot there, a little deflection. But, man, Seattle goalkeeper Frey, he's been one of the best goalkeepers in MLS history. Looking like it today. But me and Wormy, we'll break it down a little bit. But I'm going to try to stay on the positive side of things. I don't want to go full catastrophe, full disaster mode off of one really bad match, especially because it's just been that 15 minutes. You erase that 15 minutes, and it's kind of been the same match we've seen from Nashville SC throughout the season so far, outside of that 15 minutes. So, but I think you need a lump like that. Oh, Andy Nahar is still on. So, Josh, we playing a back three? Yeah, Andy Nahar's still on too. So I guess we're kind of playing like a hybrid back three right now. That's interesting. So this is me catching up in live time. So I guess Alex Wheel came off too, which is rare. Like, he's like an Iron Man. He never comes off. But looking at who all's out there now, kind of finally getting my bearings about me, it looks like Alex Wheel came off. So we're playing kind of almost like a hybrid back three, back five. But I guess Nahar can push up and kind of be more of a winger than a fullback too. So maybe it's a little bit more of a flexible lineup, which is kind of cool. I like that we can do that. But yeah, going back to the point I kept trying to make that I kind of keep getting away from is I think this is I'm gonna choose to say this is a good thing because, like, if everything goes positive for you when you're in like kind of a rebuild, kind of a restructure that we're in this season, you almost don't learn anything. So it's good to have like kind of a slap in the face, kind of a wake up call, kind of a, hey, we've had a pretty bright, pretty good start to the season, but there's still holes, there's still issues. There are still things that we need to address and need to accommodate for. So good learning lesson for us, good learning lesson for BJ as our new coach, good learning lesson for the players too. But yeah, rough game. Wormy's in the chat. I am still good for tomorrow. If anything changes, I'll send you a message sometime tomorrow, but shouldn't have any issue because should be good tomorrow. Yeah, this is also kind of what we thought we would be happening when we lost. Yeah, like this is. I did kind of, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I thought our defense had the new structure, the new lineup, the new way of playing, had the potential to get completely ripped apart if a team really hit us hard, and did not think this was going to be the game it happened in just because Seattle's kind of had a rough start to the season. But, they're out of CONCACAF Champions League now. They're kind of getting healthy. They're kind of getting their players back. So, and we're, Eddie and Zimmerman both being out is maybe not the best spot for us to be in. Hopefully this is not a sign that we just cannot play without Eddie and Zimmerman, because one of the things I felt pretty good about this season is that I thought we had better depth, than we have pretty much at any point in Nashville SC history. And, I saw the lineup. I like Yazbek. I like Brugman. I thought Palacios had a good match last week. Jack Mars had a pretty solid season. So I looked at the lineup, and even though Tagseth was out, I was kind of like, I think we could maybe survive this. But I don't think you can think about those two players being out and not think that has something to do with the way this result is going. But WrestleMania is also happening right now. We're on to about the third, maybe fourth match of the night. Tonight we've got Grande Americano, which I think everybody knows is, spoiler alert, Chad Gable in a mask. And wow, he just beat Phoenix. Remy said, when wrestling start? It's on Peacock right now. It started about 6 o'clock, so we're about 2 hours in. It's got about 2 hours left to go, probably. They're doing a 2-night show this year, so we got 2 nights of WrestleMania this year. Jey Uso won the World Heavyweight title to open the night. I actually got to watch that match before I got home. It was a pretty good match, but it did not feel like a world title match. A little bit disappointing in that regard, but good for Jey Uso. He's been working hard. He's gotten over. Good start to the, reign for him. We'll see what happens there. I believe we had, what other matches happened? Jade Cargill beat Naomi. Cool. New Day won the tag titles. I was a bit surprised with that. My guy, the Bear of Texas, I was on board with his prediction that Big E was going to return and actually join New Day as a heel. And that was how they were going to win the tag titles. But it sounds like they just won it pretty much straight up with just some normal heel tactics, no Big E. But they won the tag titles. And now we just had Jacob Fatu beat LA Knight for the U.S. title. I watched a little bit of that match right when I got home before I jumped on the stream. It was good match, good action back and forth. Jacob Fatu is a monster. And now Grande Americana, who I think we're pretty sure is Chad Gable, just pulled an upset, beat Phoenix. It's got to be only like Phoenix's, I think, second match in WWE, and they already had him lose. So cool for him. I bet he's glad that he threw a fit and worked his way out of WWE to come in, lose in his second match ever in WWE. So congratulations to Phoenix. Good for you that, you made a big stink about the way you were treating AEW when you were probably getting paid pretty good. And now you're going to WWE and just losing. So cool. Although the big news tonight, and there's a little bit thing going on right now where Vikingo, a big time star in Mexico, is in the ring with Phoenix. There's a big news today. I guess WWE has purchased AAA, which was the, second, maybe 1A, 1B wrestling promotion in all of Mexico. So that's a huge move by WWE to acquire a huge company like that in another country. That's been rumored and discussed in the past, but apparently officially happened today. So Vikingo, if you know Vikingo, him popping up on WrestleMania is quite insane. Quite insane. We also got some news today that Bayley has been removed from her match tomorrow night. So we've got 2 matches tomorrow night now that have a mystery component to it. Who is going to replace Bayley as Laya Vakiri's partner in the tag title match for the women? Who is going to be Randy Orton's mystery opponents? We'll look ahead to that as we get closer to tomorrow night. But what's left tonight? I think we got Charlotte and Tiffany Stratton still to come tonight. We've got the main event, the triple threat, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. I'll kind of break those down, preview, give my thoughts on those once those matches come up. I'll kind of do it. So doing my usual pre-show preview, since we're kind of in the midst of it. As the matches come up, I'll jump in and kind of throw some stuff out there. Corner for Nashville SC. Can we get something out of it? Front post clearance for Seattle. Another corner coming up for Nashville SC. Man. Another corner. Hit the near post guy. Happens over and over again. Now, on the WrestleMania broadcast, they're now replaying the announcement that WWE acquired AAA. Wild. I've been off Twitter and stuff all day long, so I hadn't seen any of these spoilers, any of these results for any of this stuff. That is insane. That is, this has been a while since we did any real wrestling content here on the channel, but for people who know and are familiar with wrestling, WWE acquiring AAA is nuts. That is crazy. I can't wait to kind of do a deep dive later tonight, go through the reports and the news and what all the ramifications and news it can be. But that is crazy. It had been rumored. I think there had been some talks about it a year or so ago, and then it kind of just faded away. But that's big. That is big. It's big in the regard to the kind of war between WWE and AEW, because WWE has kind of been, or AEW has always kind of been the one that has been open to partnering with the, other companies. They've, worked with AAA. They've worked with the other major Mexican promotion heavily, CMLL, New Japan, obviously. So WWE consolidating power, acquiring a company like that. They've obviously unofficially, there's kind of like a word of that they couldn't do it because of monopoly reasons, but they've essentially have a contractual working agreement with TNA. WWE is definitely trying to consolidate power to eliminate potential feeder systems, potential partners for AEW. So that's huge news in the wrestling world right there. HBK has made his way out. We got Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, who is 75 years old at this point. He knows he's cute. He knows he's sexy. He thinks he's cute, but he knows he's sexy. That's important distinction when it comes to Shawn Michaels, is knowing he's cute, but knows he's. I'm mixing it up. All right, back to the soccer talk. So this seems like just a brutal disaster match for Nashville SC, down 3-0, should be hopeless, no chance, just hate the whole moment, hate everything about it. But I just watched Manchester United pull off one of the craziest matches I've seen in my years. So that's got to be a pin, sir! Sir! Wow. Come back for a foul now. That looked like a pin for me, sir. Yeah, Sam went down kind of easy. There's contact, but he went down pretty easy. Yeah, Sam, don't do that, Sam. Don't do that, Sam. Anyway, I just watched the craziest match I've seen in years for Manchester United, Europa League match on Thursday against Lyon. Apologies to Lyon native or Lyon heritage, my guy, the Bear of Texas. But United jumped up 2-0, which put them ahead 4-2 on aggregate because it was the second leg of the tie. Lyon came back to tie it up 2-2, goes the extra time because we're on aggregate 4-4. Lyon scores 2 in extra time, goes up 4-2. Now I'm losing. The math is getting me. Basically, they're up 4-2. We're just going to go on the one match because the one match is all that matters because they were tied up going into it. 4-2, 10 minutes left, whatever. Basically going into the end of stoppage time. Bruno gets a penalty. It almost feels like it's going to be, just kind of a waste, but, dies back. He gets a penalty. Kobe Manu, brilliant strike, brilliant finish, and then Harry Maguire, Titanic music. Cue the Titanic music. Harry Maguire saves us. 5-4 win for Manchester United. So this makes you say anything is possible. Football, bloody hell, name on the trophy, all that stuff. United did it. Nashville SC can do it. 4 goals in the next 13 minutes. It's possible. It's always funny. I'm watching, jumped over to WrestleMania now, where they show like certain celebrities, but where the celebrities are sitting, like all the celebrities are sitting together. So like the celebrities they highlighted, there's inevitably like some people behind them where you're like, oh, did that guy was not on the list enough to get highlighted? Like just now they showed Dana White for the second time. They've showed him like 3 times tonight. I don't know if they forgot they've showed him already, but you could see Bill Simmons is like right behind Dana White. I'm like, are we just not going to talk about Bill Simmons being back there? Is Bill Simmons not big enough to like get a WrestleMania shout out? I know he's gotten shout outs on like Raw and stuff like that, but maybe he's not big enough for WrestleMania shout out. That's kind of crazy. Mm. Jordan Morris is one of those dudes. There have been several of these over the years, but he's like the latest one where like he's making me feel super old right now because like I remember when it was like the craziest story in the world that Jurgen Klinsmann brought Jordan Morris into U.S. men's national team camps when he was in a professional. He was playing at Stanford. Like it was unheard of. It had been years since like a collegiate player had been brought into the U.S. men's national team. And now Jordan Morris is the guy that everybody's like, he's wearing down. He's in his older years. I'm like, don't talk about Jordan Morris that way. I'm much older than Jordan Morris, and so like him now being the latest guy that people are talking about, like, the old wily veteran Jordan Morris. I'm just like, ugh, I hate that. I don't like the way that sounds. Tornado said, thoughts on Hani? I mean, he's been, I've kind of been sporadically watching the match. I watched it kind of on my phone earlier before I got to get home and watch it, for the second half, so it's kind of been, I haven't got the full like best analysis of the match on this one just because I, only saw was watching the first half on a tiny screen, but I would say it's kind of notable that, we haven't heard Hani's name very much. Like he does not seem like outside of free kicks and stuff like that. Doesn't seem like he's gotten super actively involved in the match, which, that happens sometimes. It sucks. You want your best players to be active and be involved, but sometimes, especially a player like Hani who kind of freelances, doesn't really have a set position, a set role where he kind of just tries to find his way into the game. Sometimes, that players like that can disappear, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know if I'm spot on with that or if I just haven't been able to watch the match close enough, but it does feel like he's been a little bit of a enigma kind of ghost in this match right now. But, it is what it is. Interesting substitution, one, kind of cool thing we can take out of this match, at least, Chris Applewhite just came into the match in place of Jackson Palacios. Chris Applewhite. Oh, Eddie, that's a card. Maybe a red, sir. He could have killed him. It's a yellow card. We'll take that. But Chris Applewhite, we're talking about that. It's a Wormy says, sucks. Applewhite's being brought into a blowout. That's probably honestly the best way to bring, in my opinion, different strokes for different folks. My opinion, no. I expected, coming up May 6th to see him in the U.S. Open Cup match because you don't want to throw a player like that into a match with high stakes, high pressure. You want to let them ease in. You want to let them find their feet. You don't want to throw them right into the fire, so to speak. So, a game like this where, the match is pretty much done and dusted, barring some kind of late miracle, like give him a chance to get run out there, get a few touches on the ball, maybe play a little defense. Oh, good shot from Hani right there. Shout out Tornado. We just saw him get on the ball and get it in. But yeah, I don't really, I'm happy to see Chris Applewhite out there. It's, certainly you'd want if I was going to do anything differently, I'd love to see him be able to get his debut at home because that would be, the greatest thing, for him to get that big home reception coming on the pitch for the first time. He'll get that one way or the other. The first time he comes on the pitch at George Park, he's going to get, a huge reception. But I think this is a good kind of sucks because I don't want us to get blown out. I don't want to be losing this game 3-0, but it's a good kind of low pressure situation to give him 10 minutes, let him get his first taste of full MLS play, get a little look at him, give BJ a chance to see, where he's at and kind of, does he want to start working him in more, start giving him more opportunities? So, it sucks that we're losing. It sucks that we're blown out. I wish it was the other way. I to agree with you, Wormy. I wish it was the other way. I wish we were up 3-0 and running Chris Applewhite out there and a blowout the other way. So that's from that perspective, I wish that was the way he could make his debut. A blowout at home, that would have been more of an ideal debut for the young lad. But it's cool. Our first he's not our first homegrown player to play. I believe that was Isaiah Jones last season. He was the first homegrown academy player to make it to the first team. But Applewhite, from everything you read, everything you hear, about people who cover the academy, the development pipeline. He seems to be the one who has kind of jumped a little bit ahead of Isaiah Jones and Adem Sipic in terms of who might be a long-term, like big-time stud coming out of the academy. Like, I think there's still like, high expectations that, if not this season, next season, maybe Sipic starts to work his way in to being the second or third choice striker. Isaiah Jones, I don't know. It feels like it's kind of like it all has been quiet on him this season. Like, I was pretty, I have a lot of history with the Jones family. Like, they are like, to me, Jones is homegrown more than, this is, apples to oranges. Like Sipic, got recruited from being up in Bowling Green, brought down to join the Nashville SC Academy. Chris Applewhite, was, I believe he's from like the Virginia area and was like being recruited by like multiple MLS academies, and he chose to join the Nashville SC Academy. So he's from our academy, but he's not like he's from Nashville. So it's home. Yeah, whatever. That's picking nits a little bit there. But yeah, like as Wormy said, all reports are he has an extremely high ceiling. Like there's talk that, he could be like, U.S. national team, major move to Europe at some point in time in his career if things, develop the right pathway. So exciting to see him get a chance. Hopefully it's just the first of many for him today. Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton coming up over on the WrestleMania side of things. I think this is one of those weird things that happens in wrestling where Johnny Perez on for Sam Surridge. A little bit of surprise there. I would have thought, we're kind of playing without a traditional striker now. Kind of Hani's hovering in that 9 range. Schaff is kind of playing a little further up here. No Teal today. No Sipic. I mean, this would have been, we talked about Chris Apple. It would have been a fun time to kind of give Sipic a run out, let him run around a little bit. But oh well. I do think the Heart of Nashville kits are cursed. I'm pretty sure this is the second or third time we've worn them this season. And I don't think we've played good in them at all. I think every time we've worn them, we've lost and also looked like crap. So let's get rid of these. Get the third jerseys in. Let's just wear them as our change kit the rest of the season. Get these god-awful blue jerseys off. My mom is maybe the most like diehard Nashville and also Atlanta Braves sports fan there is. Watches like every single game, like watches every Predators game, watches every Nashville SC game, watches every Braves game, watches every Vandy basketball, Vandy football, Vandy baseball game, Titans. She's a diehard. She should be like the Nashville sports YouTube personality because she is the most diehard fan there is. And she even texted me like, these uniforms look like crap. So, I mean, like, if my mom's texting me, these uniforms look like crap, there's something to that. So get the third jerseys in. Get them in quick. Miles jumping in the chat says, do you think we can pull off one goal in this game? I mean, we have been, outside of that bad 15-minute stretch, we have been the more, not dominant because we haven't really been like, it's not like we've been just like peppering the goal, but we've had the possession. We've created some decent chances. Just can't quite find, the finish. Can't quite find that better chance, that would get a goal. So, I mean, there's probably for my stream that I'm watching right now, we just hit the 88th minute. So you figure maybe like 4 or 5 minutes of stoppage time. There's 6 minutes left. That's plenty of time to nickel 8 goals. So I think we can, but I don't know. It seems like we're kind of fading away and the match just kind of petering out. So did you see Perez will be at Lowe's next week? I did not see that, but I know like they do those kind of appearances throughout the year and stuff like that. They'll pop up at like a Mapco or like a Lowe's or a Home Depot or stuff like that. So that's cool. It's always cool. I haven't seen I'm waiting for like the next like kind of like fun like fan event type thing where it's like come out like a big fan event, not just like a meet and greet type thing. But it's cool. Nashville SC does do a good job of community outreach in terms of like getting the players out and like trying to do meet and greets and getting them out there. So that's cool. I've been disappointed in Surge this season. To be honest, I feel like the expectation he was going to get a ton of goals. I thought so too. And me and Wormy have talked about this a little bit on our podcast, 615 Locker Room. Check it out if you have not done so already. That he was kind of, maybe becoming the poster boy for the struggles where we're creating a lot of chances, but not finishing a lot of chances. I tend to I'm very slow to come around to fully turning on people and players. I'm still a Gary Smith defender for crying out loud. But I kind of wonder if there's a degree to which I was actually thinking about this before the match today, even. You just get so used to the way we used to play, the old Gary Smith style, where Sam Surridge might get under Gary Smith 1-2 decent scoring chances a game. And it's almost like, is he and the rest of the team as well, having to adjust to more chances happening? Is he unaccustomed to how much of the ball we have in terms of possession, how many times the ball is coming into the box, time, stuff like that. It is. I kind of had a thought about that. Is it I kind of talked about this either here on the live streams or with Wormy about I think Hani is getting accustomed to not having to do everything himself, to having more players being available and scoring opportunities. And I kind of wonder if Sam and Moyle and Schaffelberg and the crew, all of them really are still adjusting to being an attacking team. You've played a certain way for 5 years. You can't just flip a switch and suddenly be all right, we're an attacking team. We're going to score 5 goals a game, even though, it clearly trained well. They've clearly been taught well. BJ's got them playing well, but scoring goals to me is I think the two hardest things to do in sports are scoring a goal in soccer and hitting a fastball. This is me, in my brain. This is obviously baseball players can hit fastballs, professional baseball players can hit fastballs all day long. But I think it's almost underestimated how hard it is to score in soccer. There's a reason soccer is made fun of for being such a low scoring sport, because scoring goals is not easy. And when you've been a team that is just been completely accustomed to not having a lot of chances, not having a lot of the ball, it's not just going to flip a switch overnight and suddenly it's going to be good. So I'm with you there, Tornado. I definitely think I was hoping this was going to be 15, 20 goals this year for Sam. It does not seem like we're going to get there unless something, really kicks into gear in the second half. But I also think, like I said, there's going to be growing pains with the change of system, change of style, growing into being a team that is kind of trying to attack more. So I'm going to chalk it up and hope that that's what we're still in that phase. Come back late May. We've got 10 games in May. I think at the end of May, Wormy, you asked me, you're still in the chat a little bit. You asked me on our first podcast, when is it time to panic? When is it time as a sports fan to kind of look at your team's results, the way they're playing, and actually kind of panic? And I don't know there's ever going to be a point this season where I'd really panic with Nashville SC, because I think we're pretty solid. I think we're pretty good. I think we're going to be mid-tier in the mix MLS level team this season. I don't think we're going to be high level, top of the table type team. But if some of these kind of issues with scoring with Sam, we get through this crazy stretch of games we have coming up next month, 10 games in May, and these are still things we're talking about, that's going to be something we're going to need to really, really think a little bit harder about. Yeah, and Tornado comes back, says, not turning on him, just disappointed he doesn't have that spark. Feel like Taxith, Honey, and Kasam have been the main players with energy so far this season. I trust in Surge and the others. Yeah, I think Sam's a little bit of a different style player than them. I think that's one of the things that's also kind of maybe a complication for him and his performance this season is, I think he was brought in, to fit Gary Smith's way of playing. He was meant to be just big dude in the box, whacking in the box, hope for the best. He's not meant to be the dude who's a part of interchangeable, and like he's done a good job adapting. Like you'll see him get wide on the left wing, and he'll look like Ronaldo coming in on the left wing sometimes. But he was meant to be kind of a fox in the box, target forward, and we don't really want to play that way anymore. And he's when you're that type of player, when that's your role, you're typically more of a static player. You're typically more of a kind of hang around and wait for service type player. Like that was a lot of the thing I thought about him for, the last couple of years, was that some of his struggles were that he was not getting provided the service. He was not getting set up for success. And I think now he's getting on the ball more. He's getting more passes. He's getting more setups and more chances, but it's a different style play that maybe is not the best fit for him. And he's having to try to adjust to that, try to grow into that. So, Hani, Kassam, Tagseth, they fit. They're like, to me, probably the three players I'd point to that are like ideal for what it seems like BJ wants to do. BJ wants to kind of have a free flowing, like he even said, like the preseason, one of the things that like, it's one of the things I've thought about for soccer for years, going back to the days when I was coaching, is like, you want positions, you want players to know where they're supposed to be. Oh, good save, Joe. Damn. Jordan Morris turning back the hands of time there. He is cutting through our defense on some of these through runs here late. Did they call that one back for offside? Or they just called game? That's game. Good save late for Joe Morris to keep it reasonable. I don't know. But yeah, it's final whistle. Nashville SC loses 3-0 on the road to Seattle Sounders. Not a great result, but hopefully it's a learning experience. Hopefully it's something they can grow from and whatever. But yeah. But anyway, just to finish up what I was kind of thinking, I think like to your point, Tornado, Kassam, Hani, and Tagseth have that interchangeability where they can kind of float around. We've seen Tagseth play as a deep line midfielder. We've seen him playing further up the field, almost like an attacking midfielder. We've seen him play on the wing. I know before he came to us, we haven't really seen him do this, but he plays a fullback at times back in Norway. Kassam kind of floats around. Hani obviously is a long history of kind of floating around and playing multiple positions and everything like that. So those guys kind of fit what seems to be BJ's way of wanting to play, the kind of free-flowing, you don't have a position, you have a role, and you don't necessarily have to stick to your position. You can kind of float around and do different things. And Sam, he's shown signs of being able to kind of get there. Like I said, he's played a little bit wider, started to go, left wing a little bit sometimes. But, he is, in his core, he's a traditional, poacher, big man in the box type striker, I think. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm going to just chalk this one up to growing pains and hope that, we're going to learn from this, that more will come and adjustments will come and we'll grow more into this way of playing and the style of playing and the way we want to do things going forward. Wormy says, I hope we start Schwake in Open Cup. Don't wait to throw Joe completely under the bus, but because I think he's terrible defense, also lost this game, but Joe isn't blowing my mind, to be honest. Yeah, I would be shocked if we don't start Schwake in Open Cup because, it's been a while, but like, previously in Open Cup, and obviously it's a different coach too, so he might have a different mindset of the way he wants to approach Open Cup. But Gary always threw out Panico or one of our backup keepers in Open Cup, and I think that is a good opportunity because I do think the reason we brought in Schwake, I do think the reason we brought in Valdez and let Panico go was because we decided that Panico was not the heir apparent to Joe, and we wanted to bring in some guys who maybe could be. I don't know if either one is actually going to be that, but I'd be shocked if Schwake doesn't get to go in Open Cup just to kind of start to get a better look at him, a better opportunity to see, what does he have to offer us long term. And, I would agree. I think Joe has had a okay season. Like, I think he's saved some good shots, but there's definitely been a couple where I think he could have done better. And obviously, like, his footwork has never been the best. And then we're talking about modern soccer where everybody on the pitch is supposed to be able to make, like, pinpoint, drop it on a dime, Hollywood ball, switch passes, David De Gea, I'm going to give a little Manchester United talk here. Maybe first or second best goalkeeper in Manchester United history and got run out of the club because he can't pass the ball. And he's having a great season at Fiorentina right now. Like, it's just an incredible all-time shot stopper, but just can't pass. So, like, they were like, you can't pass. We got to get rid of you. It's like, maybe we should remember the first thing a goalkeeper's supposed to do is shot stopping and then, like, worry about the passing and stuff later. Because right now, Manchester United has a goalkeeper that we brought in Andre Onana, who was, like, oh, hey, he's supposed to be this great, passer of the ball. He's supposed to be great on the ball, but he actually sucks at everything else. So I don't know. I do think this is probably the end of the Joe era this season. There's definitely, if it's not Schwake, if it's not something else, but one way or the other, we need to figure out if Schwake can maybe be the long-term answer. So yeah, I'm with you. I think we should definitely give him a run out in US Open Cup. And I wouldn't be opposed to even, we saw it with a little bit with Panico when he had a couple good cup matches over the years, if he has a good showing in the cup match, throw him a bone, give him a league match just to kind of keep that ball rolling and stuff. So, we'll see. I think once Schaffelberg is back 100%, will be more dangerous. Yeah, I want to see more of him. Like, I think he's started to kind of find his way back in. He's showing that spark off the bench. I think the biggest thing for him is once again, he's similar to Sam. Like, his style of play traditionally fits better with Gary's style of play. He was a very, I don't want to say one-dimensional player, but get wide, beat people with pace, whipping crosses. So I think the injury didn't help him start the season, but I think he's also kind of similar to Sam, having to find his way into, growing as a player and finding more ways to be more versatile in sort of a BJ system. But, I think he's 2 games in a row come off the bench and giving us a good spark off the bench. I like Kassam. I think he's got the higher ceiling than Schaffelberg, but, maybe for the short term right now where Schaffelberg's got his fitness back, he's starting to find his way into the way that, BJ wants to play. Maybe we give Schaffelberg a run out as a start. But I think, he's one of the things I think that's probably unfortunate for Schaffelberg is he's so good as a sub. Like when he first came to Nashville SC, it was such a unreal spark, him coming off the bench with his pace. It's almost a detriment to him as a starter is that he's so good as a sub. And there's some conversation going in the chat that was kind of on the same wavelength as me, where he says Chef's style doesn't mesh well with the system. I think so. He could change to fit the mold. See what you mean. He injects more pace in the team. I feel like Surge is really more of a Gary system player. Uncle Mad said, pace, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, kind of everybody's kind of in the chat, kind of saying the same thing I was kind of saying. Pretty much is what we've seen of Schaffelberg in the past. Kind of the wide player who whips and crosses. That was the Gary way of playing. But we've seen Schaffelberg. If you watch the Canadian national team, he seems to have another layer to him that we haven't fully unlocked at Nashville SC. He's not he's a good goal scorer for, the Canadian team. It's just haven't quite got there with us. I think he's only got his 2 or 3 goals a season has been kind of the max he's hit for us. So I think there's, still potential there. I'm not, giving up on him, but I think, I think he's still got growing pains to go through, similar to Sam, to kind of work his way into how he fits into our system. Beans in the chat says, what do you think of Yazbek? I like him. I think he was one of the bright spots when he came in the summer last season. Just didn't get much of a chance to do much because obviously, had the stupid thing he did that got him suspended. So then, it was so late in the season with everything changed and everything was kind of off the rails. But I think he's good. I think he's in kind of a tough spot because I think, he's probably the best all-around midfielder we have in the bunch right now. In terms of everything he can do, he's got the most range of things to do. But Brugman's passing, when he's on, is such a higher level than anything we've ever had at Nashville SC that you almost have to have him out there. And Taxess work rate. I think Yazbek's in a bad spot where he's kind of almost like the odd man looking out as long as we're going to play a 2-man midfield. If we were to switch to a 4-3-3, get all 3 of those guys out there, Brugman, Tagseth, Yazbek together, that could be, pretty good. But who do you drop out, man? I've never been the biggest Alex Muyl fan. I love his work rate. I love how much he does, but I wouldn't be opposed to a midfield 3 of Tagseth, Brugman, and Yazbek. Throw Surge in the middle. Maybe then Hani doesn't really do well as a wide player. So what do you do there? Yeah, it's a hard, we've got some, it's a good problem to have that we have some depth, some decisions to make in terms of positional players and who comes in where. It's a bit wild there, but yeah, I like Yazbek. I think Brugman, maybe is only a 1 or 2 year guy. Yazbek maybe is a longer term dude. Although also if he breaks through and has a good season, he's young enough. He he could pop off and go back to Europe. I think the same as like Tag Seth or Kassam, and got same kind of mold. So I like the depth. I like that we have options like that. Eddie, one man in the match. That's totally fitting. You'll come on for 45 minutes, run around like a madman, cause all kinds of chaos, and kind of get us back into maybe having a chance to do something. Good. Eddie, good for Eddie. Luckily, he didn't get that second yellow, so we'll have him back for Chicago. I'd be shocked if he doesn't start that match, and we'll see some better stuff from Nashville SC in the next match. So, Beans with another comment. Bean says, Beans. Good thought. Good share there. I may have mispronounced or said his name wrong or something like that. I don't know. All right. I'm going to wind this one down. I got some stuff I need to do. I've been gone most of the day. I'm going to keep watching WrestleMania. So if anybody is curious about my thoughts of WrestleMania, you can follow me on social media. I'll probably tweet out some stuff or keep posting stuff about that on social media. But seems like the chat, seems like the group here was mostly here from the Nashville SC stuff. So don't want to drag it out and have anybody have to listen to me talk about Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton. Although they are putting on a really good match right now. Bless these ladies. They're having a good fight here in the squared circle. Wait. Oh, Charlotte Flair almost rolled her up. A lot of Tanner on the line in this match. Thanks for everybody who's jumping in the chat. Thanks for everybody who watched this live or on replay or any other ways. If you're here for the first time ever, or if you're a returning person who's just not subscribed yet, please do that. Subscribe to the channel. Turn the bell on for notifications. We always do crazy stuff like this at random, and you never know when. It's fun, though. I enjoy it. I enjoy just talking and chatting shit, as they say. So we'll wrap this one up with the Nashville SC match being over, and I'll just watch WrestleMania on my own tonight. Maybe come back tomorrow night. Maybe I'll do like a live stream for tomorrow night's main event, something like that, or tonight's main event even. Maybe I'll come back live tonight. I don't know. I definitely don't think I need to be live for this match that's on right now, but I don't know. If it seems interesting, I'll go live again. You never know. If you don't subscribe, if you don't turn the bell on for notifications, you'll never know what's going to happen. So do that. That's the way you know. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your bagels. I don't know if I said that in a while. That feels weird.